The first time I ever heard the word Scientology was on TV. I was probably about 15 years old, so this is going back to 98. I became curious, and I went to the internet, and I typed in Scientology into Google. And I basically found a whole range of sites, as you will today. One of them was the official site, Scientology.org. So I thought I'd check that out, and I did. And things seemed interesting. They did. But then I went back and I found Xenu.net. And I read Xenu.net that particular night. And I read a lot of pages. And I read about Quentin Hubbard and Xenu and, things that would be frightening basically to the average person. And I thought, okay, I'm 16. I don't have a car. I knew that the church was far away from where I lived, and you're not going to get involved. So that was fine. My attention quickly diverted to other topics of interest, and I would say it wasn't until I was in this city, in Los Angeles, California, in May of 2005, and basically there, it's a very long story short, but I went into the L. Ron Hubbard Life exhibit, which we were just protesting today at 6331 Hollywood Boulevard, and I walked in there with a friend of mine, and I saw the exhibit. And what I am is I'm a huge science fiction fan, and I was not told immediately it was about L. Ron Hubbard. I was just told it was about science fiction. I thought it was harmless. I didn't know exactly who the people were, but I was what's called body-rooted. So I have to tell you that after my 1-hour tour, I got out and I basically became very interested in Scientology. It was something I wanted to do. It was something that I had a yearn for. It, quote-unquote, spoke to me on a spiritual level. I've always been interested in religion. I've always been interested in spirituality. I've always been interested in science, theology, all kinds of subjects. I think that what really intrigued me the most was I was at a time in my life, and this is how you get recruited into the Scientology. My parents were getting divorced. My grandmother had just died. I am currently a film student, and when I was here in Los Angeles the first time, I had just graduated from film school, in my hometown city. And, they're big on film. Hugely big on film. L. Ron Hubbard, was a screenwriter. He wrote the Xenu story as a screenplay, which I have. And it's a beautiful piece of science fiction. I can't say I find any religion in it. But, worthy of maybe a literary award. Anyways, it was just the way that it was presented and just where I was feeling at that time. I was feeling insecure, I was feeling lonely, and it just made me feel accepted and made me feel that there was a man out there who struggled, which is BS, now that I know, to find spiritual truths and spiritual answers. And I dumbed it down as in this was the group, the religion that I had been always looking for. I just didn't find it in Buddhism. I didn't find it in Judaism, which I left in order to pursue Scientology. I took my first course at the end of May of 2007, and in June of 2007, I signed a COR contract to go to Gold, filmmaker, right? At that time, I had freshly come off an internship at a prominent post-production company, I won't say the name, doing like sound and video, quality control, quality masterings, Foley recordings, ADR recordings, basically post-production, sound and video, okay? And I did a 6-month internship there. And I did sign my contract to Gold, but unfortunately, fortunate for me in the end, I have a very mild cardiomyopathy. It's a heart condition. And mine was caused by a chemotherapy I received when I was a baby. I don't particularly remember. But because of it, I have to maintain very low doses of heart medication. The fact that I take the heart medications, I was told you don't qualify for Gold. So I said, all right, if I don't qualify specifically for gold, can I still be in the Sea Org? During that summer, which is now the summer of 2005, I signed one at Flag. I signed a Sea Org contract at Flag. I also signed a Sea Org contract at the American St. Hill organization. There's a guy in there who's the dissemination secretary. I won't say his name or anything, but he was the Sea Org recruitment officer at the time. So I've signed 3 Sea Org contracts. I did not make the EPF, any of them, and I'm very happy that I didn't. I, however, was on staff. I had a very interesting job when I was on staff. I was in the finance division. And under Treasury, there's 21 departments on the org board. I was in number 9. 9 is called Records, Assets, and Material. And it's referred to as the body of the org. And it's one of the, I think, the most important. I'm a little egotistical because it was my job. But it is one of the most important positions on the org board. Essentially what you do is you are the records officer, the banking officer, and the bookkeeper. So it's a very interesting position, let me tell you. And I'm grinning underneath here, just to let you know.
Any secrets that you want to share?
There are a lot of secrets that I can't share. I have talked with a wonderful gentleman who's down here somewhere called Graham Barry. I'm happy to have met him. I'm happy to have met Mark. And there are quite a few. The one thing that I could communicate is where I was in Europe. And it won't take too many people to figure out where I was. The government's not very friendly to Scientology. And this was a Western European country, and they're not friendly. And they're a very strict nation, and they have, let's say, a violent history. Okay? The thing that I can communicate is there are a number of bank accounts that were opened by the org because the federal banks don't let this particular church of Scientology, and I'm going to say church, open up bank accounts. So parishioners and staff members open up cash accounts. That's true. Cash accounts at different kinds of banks. So this is illegal because what's in these accounts, which are opened by parishioners and staff members, is it's money from the org. It's not money out of their own pocket. I was asked one time what happens at tax time. How do they get away with it? I don't know. I don't know the taxation laws in that particular country. All I can tell you is if you're a parishioner, if you're a staff member, you're opening an account, okay, under you and your business for the church, not for yourself. And I could verify that there's at least 3 or 4 of these accounts in the city that I was working on staff. So this is illegal. Of course, you have to understand that the country in question hates the Church of Scientology. So the Scientologists basically have fair gamed it and saying, well, in America we can do all these things, but in this country we can't. So they've justified this illegal action. And I would say that that's probably the most eye-opening or disturbing secret that I can basically tell. There are many others, but that's the most important.
But Scientology specifically asked these parishioners
Yes.
to open up the accounts
Yep.
on their behalf.
Yes, absolutely. The oldest staff member in the particular organization, who's in her 80s, came back one day and a German basically said, I opened a bank account. I turned to my coworker. I said, what is she talking about? My coworker said, it happens all the time. We can't open at the federal banks. We can't open at the bank of, whatever. So we've asked this woman who's 86, who's OT6, to open a cash account. So it's pure cash. So when somebody needs a bus, ticket to Copenhagen, or they got to pay for a dinner, it's little things like these. It's not from books, but it's from cash within the org. And it's coming out of course, parishioner money, which is gross income.
How long were you working on staff in that foreign country?
That I was for 9 months of my life, 40 weeks.
What about your visa status?
What visa? Okay, let me tell you something about that. This particular organization, 20% of the workers are illegal foreign workers, okay? Illegal. They have no visas. They have no work permission, okay? That's not only my country, but adjacent Eastern European countries, okay? And when you say, what visa, I laugh because I'm telling you how many times I tried to get the Department of Special Affairs in that organization to help me. I have documents. I have so many documents that anyone who's neutral could look at and say, yeah, this person, me, tried, and the organization did nothing. So I had no visa. I had no work permission. I had a residence permit. I had to take lessons of the language, the national language. I couldn't afford them. And basically, I went and I had to leave the country. I won't specifically give details. I was asked to leave the country, and I did leave the country.
Asked by who?
By the immigration office. It wasn't I found out later that there's two forms of, when you're asked to leave a country, it's called deportation. And there's two kinds. There's an illegal one and there's an illegal one. I was asked for a legal one, which means I was asked and I complied. So I just want to stress that because, I'm also in a foreign country now. And number two is there's also the illegal where, of course, you're put in jail. That never happened to me. So I just want to make that clear. There was a woman who walked in, raided the org, who was part of the immigration office. And they were getting suspicious that there were illegal workers. Now, I was up in the academy, okay? I was told by the OES, I won't say her name, but that's her rank.
What does that stand for?
The Organization Executive Secretary, who's in charge of Divisions 3, my division, 4 technical, and 5 qualifications. I was ordered by her to, quote, go to the academy, it's because of your nationality. So I ran up to the academy, not knowing that there was a woman from the government who was raiding the org looking for illegal workers. Everyone who's there who was illegal was in that org in the academy. If she had searched the academy, the whole operation would have folded. And I'm really angry that they didn't do that today. You have to understand that in that particular country, it's not considered a church. It's considered a corporation, which it should be in all countries, okay? So things like having a raid, normally you'd find the people, you'd send them home. Well, they're sending me and they're sending other people into the academy, and they're saying it's a religious seminary, whatever, you can't disturb. You can't go into the academy. People are learning about religion. And as soon as people hear that word, it's very, I would say, it's a sacred word in a sense. So people think, okay, they're studying, we should leave them alone. And they're very, very good about hiding under that cloak. And that's basically what it is. About a month later, I did go back to staff. And I did go back because I was told if I didn't, I would have a freeloader bill. Now, what a freeloader bill is, for those who don't know, is, of course, a bill of money that you have to pay for all the courses you took as a staff member for free. This is one of the worst things that you can threaten somebody with in Scientology, other than an SP declare. So when you're in the church and when you're a staff member, you have a certain very confined mentality. And when somebody threatens you and says, unless you pay this bill, you're never going to do Scientology again for the rest of your life. And you're so hooked, because I believe it's an addiction, personally. You're so hooked and you're so addicted on these wins that the only thing that you can think of is, okay, I'm going to pay the money and I'm going to get right back. Now, what happened was I had 2 weeks of peace and 2 weeks of hell. The 2 weeks of peace, no one was calling me. Nobody was emailing me. Then, people from this organization, and that organization, which is CLO, and that organization, which is AOLA, started calling me. And I got really pissed off because one time we spoke for 2 hours, and I missed an episode of Lost, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm telling you, you don't do that to me, okay? It sounds completely stupid, but I'm trying to sit down and hear about the smoke monster or something, and they're calling me, and I'm just getting disturbed, okay? So, for those 2 weeks, it was unbelievable, because I just wanted to go on staff. I just wanted to go on staff and finish my contract. That's not good enough for these people over here. That's not good enough for them. What's good enough is to follow what they say. Okay? Do what you're told. Okay? So I got recruited. Yeah, you come to work on Bridge. They wanted me to work in Bridge Publication, which is just past the schoolhouse down there. Hi, Rob. That's the guy who works there. I'm out. And Mark over here, I'm out. Okay, I'll put it into perspective. So they wanted me to come to work for Bridge because Bridge is apparently expanding throughout Asia. And they need people to go to Asia. And I speak English, and maybe I'm a good PR person. I have staff experience, whatever. And they were really, really drilling and calling me 4 or 5 times a day, to the point where I phoned a Sea Org member in the second org I was going to and said, deal with it. I can't deal with this shit anymore. And she did. I got to my second org in March of 2008. So this house here, this brown house, is owned by a Scientologist woman. She charges $50 a night for a 1-bedroom guest house. You have to share the bathroom. There were signs all over the particular org that I was in. And what I did is I came here for 2 days. And I came here for one reason. I had a roommate in the my first staff, and if he sees this, he's going to have to disconnect from me, and it makes me sad. But we always talked about Los Angeles, and if you live here, and if you've ever been here, it's a pretty special city, I have to say, especially if you're in Scientology. And I was talking with him one day, and I said, you know what we're going to do one day? I'm going to show you the Santa Monica Pier. It's my favorite place in this city, okay, and I live very close to it now. And I said, we're going to go there, and we are going to laugh about our staff experience, and we're going to have a fun time. We're going to party. I'm going to take you to all these different places, and we're just going to forget about everything we've done. So, how did I get out? It was a process that started with a sec check and me being unqualified, and it finished at 9 o'clock at night in the middle of Asho and the building behind here. And I looked at this building. It was the 16th of May, and I looked at this building. It was 9 o'clock at night. LA's beautiful at night. And I was leaving to go home the next day. And I guess I just asked myself, I answered a question. Because I was in reflection. I really was. I don't want to sound like I'm a poet or I'm a prophet or something. But it was really an interesting experience, okay? And the question that I actually started to ask myself, was this Scientology worth it? And I just can't believe I've never asked myself that question until 3 years, almost to the day after I joined. And I just thought to myself, was Scientology worth? I didn't talk to my family hardly on staff. I really didn't talk to my friends. So is it worth my family? Is it worth my friends? Worth my time? I worked 92 hours a week. Okay, full-time schedule for the first church. And I got paid anywhere from 11 to 86 euros per week for an average of 25 euros a week. Is it worth it? Is it worth it, really? And the answer is no. And I answered that question. And I came home and I had 2 very rough months. And what got me out of it, and I have to say thank you very much to Mark and to Jason Begay. I saw Jason Begay's story July last year. And I was going to go back. I was really going to go back, Jason. This is to you. And I saw your video, okay? And you saw inconsistencies about Scientology that I saw, that my roommates saw, that everybody sees, but we're not allowed to talk about. I couldn't believe that you saw the same consistencies that I saw. And I thought to myself, I can't believe this is happening to me. And that was it. I was done. I watched more of Xenu.net. I watched a lot of videos from the LMT, Tori's videos. I can go on. But between him and some of the critical websites, I really now had 2 perspectives. I had the in and the out perspective. And the out perspective was me. But I had been chasing it. I had been, doing something else. So I really got out because of Jason, and I got out because of Mark, and I got out because of Tori, and I got out because of a lot of people. So that really solidified, I'm no longer in this, I'm gone.